When should you sell your cryptocurrency? Well, that is the question that we are going to be asking and hopefully providing some sort of an answer on in this video. And the truthful answer that I can give you guys right off the bat is I really don't know. I don't know what to tell people when they ask me when they should sell their cryptocurrencies. I have a number of answers for them, if I'm being honest. You can, of course, go historically on prior crypto bull markets and the kind of time frame that they take to top out. We're going to be doing that in this video. We're also going to be taking a look at US PMI manufacturing cycles. So the PMIs in the US, it's an index that essentially looks at kind of economic activity. They perfectly align with the cycles that they go through. They're a 4-year cycle. They perfectly align with a Bitcoin halving cycle, and they perfectly top out pretty much at the same point. So you can perhaps look at prior data to project forward. That is one way perhaps to do it, but that's no guarantee that the bull market for the cryptocurrency space is going to end. You can also sell your crypto when you're happy with the profits that you've made. That isn't a bad answer at all, I don't think. And probably the method that I'm going to go with, which is going to be a combination of all three of these, is when technically I see significance to get out of the market. So I'm a technical analyzer. I believe that through technical analysis, you can essentially spot opportunities when they arise, way better than you can listening to news flows and diving into fundamentals. And you can essentially capitalize off of that. And I think that's going to give me my topping signal, or certainly when I think it's time to get out in the markets. I'm also going to be paying attention to the kind of prior timeframes that the crypto market takes to play out, economic data like PMIs, and a number of other things. And that's what I want to get into with you guys in this video. And you all need to come up with your own strategy. Don't just listen to what I say. Don't just listen to what other people say. Have some sort of an inkling, whether that's through technical analysis, whether that's through understanding prior cycles or economic data, to make your own decision. At the end of the day, you live by the sword, you die by it. You make your own choices. All I'm doing in this video is hopefully providing some sort of an insight into how long prior bull markets take to play out, when the peaks typically occur, what sort of time frame that takes place in. A bit of overlay with macroeconomic data. We'll also look at some things such as global liquidity, which matches up with this quite nicely in regards to when prior cycles would have you believe that the halvening or the bull market might end. Also the PMIs, what sort of time frame they give you in regards to those cycles. We'll look at global liquidity index, and we'll also look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, or the balling with ALLIN cheat sheet that essentially looks at sentiment. And again, the honest answer that I give people when they ask me when they should sell their cryptocurrencies is I don't know right now, when we see the signals to do so. Now, we have been developing a market mastery course, which breaks the market down into 4 phases. You can sign up for the newsletter and get a discount on that when it's released at academy.allincrypto.com. Do go and check that out. It's not for everybody. It's only for people that want to take technical analysis and the markets seriously. You know, we've developed a kind of theory to do all of that, and anybody and everyone can use and utilize it. So the best place for me to start in regards to when you should sell your cryptocurrencies is by looking at the Brave New Liquid Coin Index. Now, what the hell is this? Well, it is a chart that represents Bitcoin over its life cycle. Pretty much, this chart goes back to 2010. It's the furthest back chart of Bitcoin that we have, because before this, it was traded on a way that, of course, TradingView couldn't possibly technically register. Now, you can see Bitcoin very much revolves around the halvening, and it creates a 4-year cycle. We're going to show you an overlap with the PMI cycles, which also move in 4 years. And you can see that Bitcoin's top pretty much perfectly aligns with the topping out of this PMI cycle, which tracks sort of economic productivity. And it also lines up, given where it is and given where we are in relation to the halvening, and also given, we'll look at global liquidity index. It all kind of aligns in regards to perhaps a good time frame of when you should start to be a little bit wary of this bull market. However, I just do want to stress this point. This is not a silver bullet. It's not an absolute. Okay? I can't say that because previously things have happened in this manner, they're going to happen this time. But there might be a bit of a good probability based on how often it has taken place. And we only had the halvening back in April. And let's take a look and draw an average of how long after the halvening the Bitcoin bull takes to end. So we're going to pull up our date range. We're going to pop it on the halvening, And this one to the top took 395 days. Okay. The next one took 518 days. The one after that, leading into 2021, took 549 days. And let's just, for argument's sake, say that this one takes 500 days and see where this puts us. 518 days would put us on September 2025. So if we are to follow prior halvening cycles in regards to the price action that we see after the halvening, being around about 500 days, this would take us into next year around about September. Now, again, I want to really stress and emphasize that this is not a silver bullet. It doesn't mean that the bull market is going to end on this date. I think an interesting thing to mention, we know that crypto is going up based on a number of things like the PMI cycles, like macroeconomically where we're at, like all the technical work that we do here on the channel at ALLIncrypto to kind of give us those higher price predictions. It aligns, there's this walking, talking, quacking like a duck gives us a duck. And we've kind of analyzed multiple different things across multiple different methods and assets and kind of economic data to help us kind of come up with this really bullish outlook, of course, technically being the predominant view that we take. So we know crypto is going up, but what I want to point out to people is what happened with gold after it had its ETF back in 2004. It went on a mega bull market, of course, caused by the institutional sort of appetite that then formed for gold. So we'll go ahead, we'll put it on a monthly time frame and just show you that quickly because you could be looking at potentially a similar thing. Of course, very bullish on gold at the moment. Bitcoin is in an uptrend against gold. If we go back all the way back to 2004, this is when gold got its first uptrend. And you can see this bull market lasted for significantly longer than what lasted in regards to or has previously lasted in regards to the halvening cycles. This lasted for 2,648 days. Are we going into that sort of super cycle, which everybody loves to talk about? Also, the S&P, when it had its first ETF back in 1994, I think it was. And I'm showing this just because I don't want people to think that this is a perfect topping signal, but it might help you in regards to when to be cautious. This one also lasted for a similar period, 2,376 days. So Bitcoin has just had its ETF. Is that going to cause some sort of a prolonged cycle for it? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. But if you want to base, and there's a number of crossovers here, prior cycles, halvening cycles, and how long Bitcoin goes on a run for after that, you're coming to around about mid to end September 2025. So next year. So you've got a while. And we're in this sort of lull period for the markets. We've gone from May, selling May, come back in St. Leger's Day, into June. Typically the best time to get into the markets on the back end of the year, into the start of the year, and then back out in May. You could buy it sort of start of September, out in May, and you'll do quite well. That's the kind of most ferocious time for the market. So we've still got all that to come. Do we get a chance to sort of break back into September, October, November again, 2025? I'm not really sure, but this is something to bear in mind and sort of pay attention to and be a little bit cautious of. Now, if we look at PMIs, which is Purchasing Manufacturing Index, or Managers Index, sorry, I'm going to take the drawer off, and we've got the Brave New Liquid Coin Index in here. You can see actually that this also moves in a 4-year cycle, which also perfectly aligns with Bitcoin. So you can see as this started to top out, Bitcoin also topped out, again over here, and again over here. And the average duration from bottom to top for this is what we're going to be taking a look at, and we're going to see what this results in. So from bottom to top is around about 446 days. Again, we'll do it again over here. Bottom to top is around about 763 days. Now we know why this was such a steep one. Bottom to top is around about 364 days. Let's take the bottom to top and sort of go in the middle of these at around about 500 days and see where this takes us. It takes us into the latter half of this year. You can see here, of course, Bitcoin went in to put in a new high. So let's say there's about 500 days is going to take you to around about the end of this year into 2025. So we've got a little while ahead of us based on this. If we now dive over and look at the global liquidity index, which tracks liquidity and the kind of cycles that it's been on and projects the future cycles, let's take a look at what sort of a date and time range this gives us. So you can see we have this here. This is the global liquidity and long-term cycles that kind of overlay it. And you can see liquidity, just like PMIs, have started to uptick. There's no surprise there that as liquidity grows, so does the sort of purchasing managers index. And you can see this is topping just short of 2026, which aligns very nicely with the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and what previous cycles would have us believe the top or the period that we might be on a bull market for would be in this cycle. And it's not that far off the PMI manufacturing index, which is interesting. And if we now go back to the PMI purchasing manufacturers index, and what we're going to do this time, instead of going to the peak, we're actually going to go to when it started to sell off. And you can see the days increase in this to round about 700. We'll take the lower end. And that's going to see you run into the latter half of next year or the sort of mid-term of next year. So I think when you look at these metrics, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory and how long that would dictate we run for after a halvening, and remember it starts off slow and then gains momentum, the purchasing manufacturing index and the global liquidity index, it all takes us into sort of mid next year, mid to the latter half of next year. And you've got three things that align. It makes a lot of sense to me. Technically, when we look at the markets and we look at patterns that it may be forming, we do have higher prices across the board. And ultimately, that aligns with our kind of macro view of things. And it's worth paying attention to the kind of prior timelines that things have followed, just because we've continued to follow it so well. We really have followed the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory amazingly, all centered around the halvening. Of course, Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships. The question is this time going to be different? And this is why I say I don't have that silver bullet in regards to this is the exact date. Because that's what people want from me, and I can't give that. What I can give people is the daily market updates. When we look at the markets, we technically assess them. We've been singing a very bullish tune since the start of 2023. We've made a lot of money in that meantime. I have an entire group of people. Do check the Patreon. We're up some of our positions 600% since we got back into the markets. And it's not just me that's doing that. It's many of the people that are in that group. And of course, hopefully you guys that follow the channel. I can't give people a silver bullet, but what I can say to people is that technically, when we see reason to get out of the market, we'll be very vocal about it, believe you me. And for now, there's no reason to worry. And if prior cycles are anything to go by, and PMIs and global liquidity, we've got till mid to the sort of latter half of next year, which paints a pretty amazing picture, if I do say so myself. So that, I guess, is kind of my best take of, when should you get out the markets? We've looked at prior cycles and we've given you a kind of date range based on that. Not just the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, which most people like to focus on, a number of cycles that overlay with that and kind of give you a similar picture. We've also spoken about if you make enough money or money that you're happy with and you've got to a position where you can change your life financially, not a bad time to take profits. And also, technically, when we see reason to get out of the markets, that's when we do, because we're technical traders, we're technical analyzers here at Allincrypto. But we're really going to be doing a sort of series of all three of these and hopefully taking you guys along for that journey. So that is it from me. If you've enjoyed this content, a like is always greatly appreciated. So is a comment. Don't forget to become a subscriber so that you can sort of watch out for that get out signal. Although we aren't financial advisors here at Allincrypto. It's up to you guys what you do. It doesn't bother me whether people buy or sell crypto. We're just here to hopefully help people on that journey, as I believe crypto is the fastest horse in a race that's going to see risk assets do well generally. So that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you really enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and any kind of feelings you have towards this. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.